See the manner in which he submits the seeking of his heart before the Guru. Katham tareyam bhavasindhu metam. Edam bhavasindhum aham katham tareyam. We generally refer to the worldly life as a huge ocean whose shores are nowhere seen. So it's a very huge ocean. That is what our worldly life is. How am I to cross and get to the shore? Katham tareyam. Katham tareyam. How can I cross over the sea of worldliness? Ka va gadir me. What kind of a plight or fate is going to befall me? What will happen? Will I be able to reach the shore? Or will I be torn asunder right in between? Kathamostyupayaha. Seemingly it is impossible for me to swim across. So is there any dexterous, clever means, an upaya? A clever means, not the ordinary one as it looks at. What is the ordinary one? The sea is very huge. I can start swimming or going in a boat. How long? With the strength of my body, how long can I swim? Or how long can I row? So it is not possible. So there must be a clever hidden means. What is that? Kathamostyupayaha. Jane na kinchid. I don't know anything at all. I have this requirement, I have this yearning, I have this ideal before me. Except that I don't know how to fulfill it. Kripayava mam prabho. Kripaya, mercifully. Ava means protect. Mam prabho, protect me, my dear great Lord. Samsara dukkakshati matanushva. Please put an end to the miserable life in this world. Life, the miserable life or life in this miserable world. You do not consider the world to be miserable, is it not? I feel the world is miserable. The world is miserable. See, we are all under the Constitution of India. And the Constitution says that there is a governance under the Constitution. And this governance consists of three important pillars. One is the Parliament, to bring about legislations, budget, approval, etc. Another is the Executive, to implement the decisions of the Parliament. Judiciary, to administer a note of propriety, check and balance to both. Now, unless these three function efficiently, loyally, with fidelity, with alacrity, I don't think governance will function well. Now, when you look at all these places, what is it that you are finding? We have thousands and thousands of cases in the courts. No subject is decided upon within a reasonable time. We have got a proverb, justice delayed is justice denied. There are a number of people in our prisons who are innocent, who have not committed a crime. Many of them seemingly die there before their crimes are adjudged. Is this an administration under which you like to live and you have no feelings? How can you say the world is not miserable? Anywhere and everywhere. If a postman brings you some money, a money order, then also he expects a tip. I think the animals don't expect any tip. You put a lot of gold on a horseback or a donkey's back and ask him to carry. At the end of the journey, he will not say, I have carried so much of gold, so give me 3% of it. The donkey doesn't say that. But the man certainly says. And how do you say that you are not finding it miserable? I find it miserable everywhere. But there is also goodness here. Everywhere. Corruption alone is there. And this corruption, don't say that it is governmental corruption. It is a corruption from the people's heart who are born in your families. In our families they are born. So they are not people from outside. Everywhere you will find. Something like propriety is not there. Fastness is not there. Regularity is not there. And so far as the people are concerned, They are concerned about their rights. They are not concerned about the duties. Any public place you take, people misuse and dump useless things there. You know, I am very much concerned about the disposal of garbage. We are thrusting our garbage on others' heads. No system is there to dispose it of. How can we get civilized? I tell repeatedly people, we have a number of engineers, chemists, chemistry experts and all of them. Can we not evolve a methodology by virtue of which the garbage is disposed of? I tell my own devotees also, let us at least carry some garbage from 2 or 3 seas and dispose them off. Set an example. But my devotees are never ready. What shall I tell them? What shall I tell about them to the others? Everywhere this is happening. Now, if you are closing your eyes towards all that, I have nothing to say. I don't think any one of you, if you have a good human mind and you are humane in your ways, we cannot have a sound sleep any day looking at the miserable character of this world. And mind you, we are under the governance. Under this governance, every one of us. If we live, move, act, get our rewards or remunerations or other things, it's all under, just like under the sun, under our constitution, under these 3 pillars. In the 2-day summit we held in Delhi a few years back, FRNV, Foundation for the Restoration of National Values, I think the Chief Judge of India, the Chief Justice of India came and he was saying, we have got watchdogs and others, Chief Vigilance Commissioner, but who will watch the watchdog? What? Who will? We had a Chief Vigilance Commissioner whose appointment was questioned, and finally he was asked to resign. He said, I will not resign. And ultimately the Supreme Court came up with a decision that that appointment was never made at all according to law. That is, such an appointment has not taken place at all. This is what the Supreme Court said. See, we are living in such a country. Now, you may be very remotely present from all these occurrences, but the fact remains that we are under such a constitution and this kind of a governance. How can we be happy? I don't think I am happy at all looking into. But I am a spiritual man. So even if greater calamities are there, I have got a spiritual redemption by virtue of which even Parikshit got his liberation before Takshaka bit him. Similarly, I have got my liberation. I am floating in it in spite of all these imbalances and calamities. But that is a spiritual redemption. It is not a physical or a sensory redress, mind you.
Ayam svabhav swataeva yatpara Shramapanoda pravanam mahatmana.
See, when a book is written, a text is composed, the purpose is to elucidate the subject in all detail, and the manner in which the author pens whatever he wants to say will determine how effective his presentation will be. Now, here is the subject of Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the self, the knowledge of the supreme reality, presented in the form of a dialogue between the Shishya and the Guru and the Shishya. Yesterday I explained to you how beautifully or how feelingfully, in a very metaphorical manner, Shankara has pictured the manner in which a disciple or a seeker goes to the Guru, the teacher, and confesses the feelings and needs of his heart. He continues to say, now what do we understand from this? This will set the tone for your seeking. If you are a seeker, you must be governed or guided by this kind of a style, refinement, sublimity, fidelity and loyalty. Katham tareyam bhava sindhumetam kavaha gadirme katamostyupayaha janena kinchid kripayavamam prabho samsara dukkha kshatim atanushva. Katham tareyam bhavasindhu medam. How shall I cross this ocean of worldliness? Kava gadirme kadamostyupaya. What is going to be my plight or fate? See, this is the way you have to look at the world if you are a seeker. Let the world be very imposing, varietal. As I say, infinitely various, endless also. So far as you are concerned, you are going to experience, enjoy or suffer from the world only in the hands of your body and senses. Nothing will come to your experience unless the senses are contacted by the objects. So the experience takes place not even 1 millimeter away from the body and the skin. The morning sun rises at a great distance. Now you are able to experience the rising of the sun, but not here. It is always by a contact. So the infinite world gives you an experience only when the senses and the world contact each other. And the senses are superior to the world objects. So the contact is established by the senses and the mind is the activator of the senses. So you should not be worried or frightened by the world. Let it be anything. But the key for experience lies with our senses. These senses are made by us. So he says, Katham tareyam bhavasindhu medam. It may appear to be an ocean. Katham tareyam. I am an individual. I have to cross the infinite world. Will I be able to cross? Yes, we can cross. Because the world is imprinted through the senses in my mind. It's only a bubble in the great ocean. Am I clear or not? Will you be able to get rid of your feeling that the world is greater and I am smaller? I want to tell you, I am bigger and the world is much smaller. Will you agree with this proposition? Huh? I don't think. See, all of you are seated in my front. I have got a pair of small eyes. But all of you are imprinted within me. I am experiencing every one of you, not coming to you, remaining where I am. I can count the number of people here. When you lift your hand, when you close your eyes, I can say that this person has closed the eyes. The experience is not 1 millimeter away from the eye or the skin or the body. The experience is within. So when I am able to say, this is the measurement that I am able to see. So don't you think this experience is within? Similarly, I can see infinite distance and infinite variety. If I can picture infinite distance and infinite variety, tell me whether the mind inside the body is bigger or smaller. So can you not cross the ocean? Huh? No. This is a wonderful knowledge, my dear souls. Wonderful knowledge. Get rid of the idea the world is bigger and greater and I am smaller and useless. Let the world be anything. If it has to be my experience, my senses will have to contact them, interact with them, and the sensory imprints will have to be there in the mind. It is the mind that forms the imprint of any object or any variety or any distance in this world. Do you agree or disagree? I want an answer from everyone. Do you agree or disagree? How do you say that the world is infinitely various? How do you say that it is endless? Except the human being, is there anybody to say the world is endless in this world? Is there anybody other than the human? Huh? And how do you say it? Is it because of your eyes or because of your mind? And the mind, you will agree, is within the body. So what should be the magnitude of our mind? It is not physically crossing the world. It is not the body crossing the world. It is the mind. It is the mind that crosses and dissolves the entire world. Katham tareyam bhavasindhu medam kava gadirme katamostyupayah janena kinchid. I don't know anything. Kripaya vamam prabho. Take mercy and pity and compassion towards me. And my dear great Lord, samsara dukkakshati matanushva. Please put an end to the miseries caused by the world. Is there any means for it? Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam samsara davanala tapataptam nirikshya karunya rasardra drishtya dadyadabhidim sahasa mahatma. Earlier, Shankara has already mentioned that the great knowers of truth, they don't generally go out and tom-tom themselves. The people who are coming to them and seeking the knowledge of the self, mercifully they explain it to them and make them knowers. Bandhur anamatam sadam. Those people who come and seek refuge under them, they become very friendly and compassionate to them. Not otherwise. Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam.
Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam.
Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam.
Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam.
Samsara davanala
Samsara davanala
tapataptam.
Tapataptam
Samsara davanala tapataptam.
Samsara davanala tapataptam
Nirikshya karunya rasardra drishtya
Nirikshya karunya rasardra drishtya
dadyadabhidim
Nadyadabhitim
sahasa mahatma.
Sahasa mahatma.
By describing it in this manner, Shankara is giving you a beautiful picture of how a seeker shapes himself, how he finds his access to the teacher, to the Sadguru, and in what manner the Sadguru receives him. If you are reading it properly and understanding it, you will find it will shape your seeking and the manner in which you pursue it. Tatha
Tatha
vadantam
Vadantam
sharanagatam
Sharanagatam
swam
Swam
samsara davanala tapataptam.
Samsara davanala tapataptam
Samsara davanala tapataptam.
Samsara davanala tapataptam
Nirikshya
Nirikshya
karunya rasardra drishtya
Karunya rasardra drishtya
dadyat
Dadyad
abhidim
Abhitim
dadyad abhidim
Dadyad abhitim
sahasa
Sahasa
mahatma.
Mahatma.
Tatha vadandam sharanagatam swam. A guru does not become a guru except in front of one who says, I am your disciple and you are my guru. I have written about 165 verses on mother. It is in Malayalam. See, when is the mother born? There is no woman who becomes a mother except when a child is born of her. Physically the birth of the child and mentally the birth of motherhood, it is practically at the same moment. When in the womb the child is getting shaped, the motherhood is getting shaped in the heart of the mother. Without the birth of a child, one does not become a mother at all. So the birth of the child and the birth of the motherhood, actually they are concurrent and simultaneous. Do you agree or not? In the same manner, none is a guru except when a seeker before him says, I am your disciple and you are my guru. So the discipleship and guruhood, both of them are concurrently getting born. So he says, Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam. When somebody makes a confession like this, and he expresses his fond seeking and reliance. He relies upon the teacher. He looks to him for instructing him properly in the matter of crossing the ocean of worldliness. Tatha vadantam, speaking in this manner, sharanagatam, he has come with a sense of surrender. He is born in this world, bred by the parents. He must have undergone a certain measure of age, must have learned, must have had his own experience. He must have compared and contrasted many things. Maybe he has read some of the scriptural texts also. With all these things, despite all this, he still feels that he is not able to make any headway, any progress. That is why he comes to a guru. And before the guru he says, I have nothing in this world except you as a refuge, as an anchor. Please take me across the ocean of worldliness. When this kind of a submission is made, the guru cannot avoid. He has to accept and give him instruction. In fact, the guru is meant only for this. There is no other purpose. Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam. Tatha, in this manner, in that manner, vadantam, the disciple who speaks thus, sharanagatam, who has come in full surrender. Samsara davana latapataptam. By listening to his speech and looking his face, the guru can understand whether he is really tormented by the world. When he understands that he is really suffering in the hands of the world, and he requires to be comforted and cooled, and a way should be disclosed to him with a view to overcome the worldliness. Nirikshya, first of all, he mercifully looks at him. Such a seeker will create a lot of feeling in the mind of the guru also. In fact, he will be very happy on the one hand and compassionate on the other. Nirikshya karunya rasardra drishtya. And what the guru has only compassion, sympathy, consideration, affection for the seeker who has come before him. So he looks at him very mercifully and compassionately. Dadyad abhidim. First of all, he says, do not fear at all. There is a way of overcoming this worldliness, and I shall tell you, don't worry. Now that you have come to me, feel safe, feel protected, and feel assured. Sahasa Mahatma, the high-souled guru, gives him, first of all, an assurance, fearlessness. Tatha vadantam sharanagatam swam samsara davana latapataptam nirikshya karunya rasardra drishtya dadyadabhidim sahasa mahatma. Our Srimad Bhagavata Tattva Samiksha Satram in Naimisharanyam was over this time on January 1st. So we had a meeting after the erection of the Pandal post. So in that meeting, all the deliberations were over. One man got up and said, Swamiji, every year we are listening to a number of exposures on Srimad Bhagavatam. It has been going on for the past 10 years. But I have something to say. What shall we do at home as a practice or a pursuit? So we are hearing so many speakers. We are also listening to so many recitations. But we must have something in the way of an anushtana to be followed at home. Will you please make it possible? I said, this is something that we can think about. So what I decided was that just midday, you know, it's a village area. So many people come and they are interested in having meal. Apart from the listeners, there will be a few others also who come only for the meals perhaps. But such people this year I found were drastically reduced. So just midday, about 12 o'clock, 12:05 or so, I think we open our dining hall by about 12 o'clock or 12:10. So I said, I will teach you Sanskrit verses, particularly Krishna's last message given to Uddhava. And then it took some time, it was a sudden decision. So it took some time for me to prepare a literature for them. So 50 verses we printed and gave it to them. And I started reciting. So I will recite each line. There is a Swami who will follow it, and the whole audience will follow. And 4 times they will recite. Each line was done like that. Then I would recite fully once, earlier and later. And the next day, whichever slokas were covered, half the verses I used to recite and make them recite. 50 verses were covered. And I sent some volunteers to see how the people are reciting and what is the degree of involvement. So they went to different places. It is about 1500 people who are reciting. When you see 1500 people, it will be almost a lake or an ocean of people in the huge pandal that we have. Everybody was reciting. Nobody went for taking meals. The involvement was so beautiful. I don't know whether in the history of the world there is any such teaching or learning has taken place. So when we are spending so much of time, why is it that you people are not responding? 48 years I have been coming here. How many times you have heard the Gita verses? From nobody's mouth will come these verses. I don't know what is the wrong with you. I think you should spend more time, more attention and more effort